6 months after the battle at Nexus Prime, Captain Yoon Ji-woo stood in the command center of the new Galactic Defense Coalition headquarters. The base was built on a world that had once been home to the Altarians, one of the species the Council had eliminated 2 centuries ago. Now Altarian survivors worked alongside humans and dozens of other refugee species to coordinate the liberation of the galaxy. The war had been swift but decisive. Once the Council's military superiority was broken, their control began falling apart everywhere. Species that had been forced into submission for centuries suddenly remembered how to fight. Worlds that had been protected by Council forces declared their independence. "Status report," Yoon requested as she entered the command center. Engineer Ko Tae-young, now serving as the Coalition's head of technology integration, looked up from his displays. "The last Council stronghold fell this morning. The Vexithari homeworld has surrendered." Lieutenant Choi In-young, who had become the Coalition's Special Operations Commander, smiled with satisfaction. "Ambassador Won Hye-jin has agreed to testify about Council war crimes at the trial next week." Dr. Han Subin was documenting everything for the historical record. Her work had become crucial evidence in prosecuting Council leaders for genocide. "The final count is in. We've confirmed that the Council eliminated 63 different species over the past 1,000 years. How many survivors did we find?" Yoon asked. "More than we hoped," Dr. Han replied. "Representatives from 41 of those species are still alive. Some populations are small, but they're all working to rebuild." Admiral Lee Dae-ho entered the command center, followed by delegates from a dozen different species. The morning briefing had become a daily tradition at Coalition headquarters. "Good morning, everyone," Lee said. "Today marks exactly 6 months since the liberation began. I thought we should review what we've accomplished." Ko activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Green lights marked worlds that had joined the Coalition. Blue lights showed independent worlds that had chosen neutrality, but maintained friendly relations. Only a few red lights remained, marking Council holdouts that still refused to surrender. "The numbers are impressive," Lee continued. 147 worlds have joined the Coalition. 63 species have gained representation in our government. Trade routes that were closed for centuries are open again. A tall being with silver skin and 4 arms stepped forward. This was Commander Veltar of the Zephyrians, one of the first refugee species humanity had contacted. "Admiral Lee, my people want to thank yours again. We had given up hope of ever seeing our homeworld free." "You don't need to thank us," Lee replied. "We all fought for this together." Dr. Kim Min-ho appeared on the communication screen from Earth. He had been coordinating the massive relief efforts needed to help liberated worlds. "Admiral, the medical supplies and food shipments are ahead of schedule. The worlds that were under Council control are starting to recover." Yoon walked to the large window that looked out over the base. She could see ships from dozens of species landing and taking off. Humans worked alongside beings that looked like living crystals, flying jellyfish and mobile plants. It was chaotic, but it was also beautiful. "Any word from the Council remnants?" Yoon asked. Choi consulted her reports. "The surviving Council leadership has agreed to our terms. Complete disarmament, war crimes trials for their military commanders, and reparations to be paid to survivor species." "What about their claim that they were maintaining galactic peace?" Dr. Han asked. Ko laughed bitterly. "Peace through genocide isn't peace. It's just silence." A new voice spoke from the back of the room. "The young human is correct." Everyone turned to see an ancient being enter the command center. She looked like a tree made of metal and starlight, with roots that trailed behind her and branches that held glowing fruit. This was Elder Sithara of the Eternal Grove, the oldest known being in the galaxy. "Elder Sithara," Lee said respectfully. "We didn't expect you today." "I came to witness this moment," the elder replied. "In my 3,000 years of life, I have seen many attempts to unify the galaxy. All failed because they were based on domination rather than cooperation." She moved to the window and looked out at the busy spaceport. The Council believed that peace required the elimination of conflict. But conflict is part of life. The goal should not be to eliminate it, but to resolve it fairly. Yoon joined her at the window. "Elder, do you think we can make this work? A truly voluntary coalition of free species?" "You already have," the elder replied. "Look around you. Species that were enemies under the Council are now working together. Worlds that were isolated for centuries are sharing technology and culture. You have not eliminated conflict, but you have created something better." "What's that?" Ko asked, Choice, the elder said simply. Every world, every species, every being now has the right to choose their own path. That is true freedom. Admiral Lee walked over to join them. Elder, we've been discussing the long-term structure of the coalition. Some species want a strong central government. Others prefer loose cooperation. How do we balance those needs? The elder's branches rustled with what might have been laughter. The same way you won this war, by working together while respecting differences. The council failed because they tried to make everyone the same. You will succeed because you celebrate what makes each species unique. Dr. Han was taking notes as always. For the historical record, Elder, how would you compare the coalition to previous galactic governments? Previous governments were built on the idea that some beings knew better than others, the elder explained. The council, the old empire, the hegemony, all believed they had the right to decide how others should live. You have built something different. How so? Yoon asked. You built a government based on the idea that all beings have the right to decide for themselves, the elder said. That is why it will last. Ko's instruments chimed with an incoming message. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Outer Rim. 3 more species want to join the coalition. Species we know about? Lee asked. No, sir. They say they've been hiding in deep space for over 500 years. They just heard about the liberation and want to come home. The elder smiled, an expression that made her starlight brighter. And so it continues. Freedom calls to freedom across the stars. Choi looked at her tactical displays. Admiral, should I be concerned about security? We're growing very fast. No, Lee said firmly. The moment we start worrying about whether species are safe to join us is the moment we become the council. Everyone who wants freedom deserves a chance to have it. Yoon activated the communication system. This is Captain Yoon Jiwoo of the Galactic Defense Coalition. To any beings listening from any world of any species, you are welcome here. Not as subjects or protectorates, but as equals. Dr. Kim's voice came through from Earth. Captain, we're detecting response signals from over a dozen locations. Species we've never heard of before. The elder moved away from the window. My young friends, you have started something that will echo across the galaxy for generations. The age of forced peace is over. The age of chosen cooperation has begun. As she prepared to leave, Elder Saithara paused. Remember this day. Remember that true peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. You have given the galaxy both. After the elder left, the coalition leadership continued their work. There were treaties to negotiate, relief efforts to coordinate, and new species to welcome. The work would never be finished, but that was the point. Later that evening, Yoon stood alone on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Admiral Lee joined her. Any regrets, Captain? He asked. Yoon considered the question. No, sir. Even if we hadn't won, even if the Council had destroyed Earth, at least we would have tried. Too many species never got that chance, and now we make sure everyone gets that chance, Yoon replied. No more forced peace, no more withdrawal from galactic affairs, no more genocide disguised as diplomacy. Lee nodded. The galaxy is big enough for everyone. As they watched, another ship arrived at the spaceport. Its design was unlike anything they had seen before, but the message it transmitted was familiar. We seek freedom. We seek friends. We seek a place among the stars. Welcome to the coalition, Yoon said into her communicator. Let's talk. The ship landed and another species took its first step toward freedom. In the distance, more ships were approaching. The galaxy was waking up and it was beautiful. The human team moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels of Nexus Prime. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls as alarms continued to sound throughout the station. Lieutenant Choi In-young led the way, using blueprints Ko had downloaded during his system infiltration. How much further to the docking bay? Captain Yoon Ji-woo asked. 2 more levels down, Choi replied. But Captain, there's something you should know. We're not just running away. Engineer Ko Tae-young grinned as he worked on a portable device. The logic bombs I planted were just the beginning. Every system I accessed, I left behind a little present. Dr. Han Subin was still recording everything on her tablet. What kind of presents? The kind that will give the Council a very bad day, Ko said. Their communication systems, their weapon targeting computers, their navigation arrays. Everything is going to start having problems in about 10 minutes. Above them, they could hear the sounds of panic. Alien voices echoed through the corridors as Council members tried to coordinate their response to humanity's surprise. Yoon activated her communication device. Admiral Lee, this is Captain Yoon. We're making our way back to the ship. Admiral Lee Daeho's voice crackled through the static. Captain, we're receiving updates from your mission. Dr. Kim has been monitoring your transmissions. Is it true? Did the Council really plan to destroy Earth? Yes, sir. This was never about peace talks. It was about eliminating us before we could become a threat. Then it's a good thing we prepared for this possibility, Lee said grimly. Operation Lighthouse is fully active. All hidden fleets are in position. They reached the docking level and carefully made their way toward their ship. The corridors were chaos as alien beings evacuated damaged areas. None of them paid attention to the humans moving through the emergency lighting. Sir, Yoon said into her communicator. How long have you known this might happen? Lee's voice was tired but determined. Since the day we received their first message. Something about it felt wrong. Peaceful species don't usually demand that everyone else give up their weapons. Ko was monitoring his instruments. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy surges throughout the station. They're trying to restart their weapon systems. Can they do it? Choi asked, not easily. My viruses are designed to spread and adapt. Every time they fix one system, 3 more will fail. They reached their ship and quickly boarded. As they prepared for departure, Yoon opened a channel to the council chambers. Ambassador Won, this is Captain Yoon. Can you hear me? Won's voice came through filled with static and anger. What have you done to our station? We've shown you what happens when you underestimate humans, Yoon replied. But this is only the beginning. As their ship undocked from the station, the view screen showed the battle beginning around Earth. Council ships were engaging the hidden human fleet, but they were clearly surprised by the opposition they faced. Dr. Han pointed to the display. Look at the ship designs. Those aren't all human vessels, she was right. Mixed in with the human ships were vessels of clearly alien design. Some looked like living creatures with metal scales. Others appeared to be made of crystalline structures that bent light around them. Admiral Lee, Yoon called. Can you explain what we're seeing? Lee's voice came through clearly now that they were away from the station's interference. Captain, there's a lot we didn't tell your team. We couldn't risk the Council intercepting our communications. What kind of things? 3 years ago, our deep space exploration ships began finding survivors. Remnants of species the Council had eliminated. They'd been hiding in dead systems, asteroid fields, the empty spaces between stars. Ko looked amazed. How many survivors? Millions, Lee replied. Entire populations living in exile, afraid to show themselves. When we found them and heard their stories, we realized what the Council really was. On the screen, more ships appeared. These were clearly of human design, but they used technologies that seemed far advanced from anything Earth had possessed just a few years ago. The refugees taught us things, Lee continued. Advanced engineering, new weapon designs, better defensive systems. In exchange, we offered them something they thought they'd lost forever. What? Dr. Han asked. Hope. The human ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving Nexus Prime behind. But as they traveled, Yoon could see other battles beginning throughout the region. Council forces were being engaged by human and refugee ships at multiple locations. Admiral, how extensive is this operation? Yoon asked. Captain, we're not just fighting a battle. We're fighting a war that started the day the Council sent their first peace mission to inhabited world. Ko was analyzing the data they had collected. Sir, based on what I learned about their systems, the Council has been using the same strategy for centuries. They identify developing species, offer them membership, then eliminate them if they refuse to disarm. How many species have they destroyed? Dr. Han asked quietly. Lee was silent for a moment. We estimate at least 50, maybe more. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. 50 entire species wiped out because they refused to surrender their freedom. But some escaped, Choi said. The survivors we found. Yes, and they've been waiting for someone strong enough to fight back. When we showed them our preparations, they offered to help. The view screen showed their destination, a hidden base built inside a hollow asteroid. As they approached, Yoon could see it was much larger than it appeared from outside. Docking bays opened to reveal dozens of ships, human and alien designs working together. Welcome to Haven Base, Lee said. This is where we've been coordinating the resistance. As they docked, Yoon could see alien beings working alongside humans. Engineers sharing technology, soldiers training together. Diplomats from different species planning strategy. How long have you been planning this? Yoon asked. Since the day we realized what the council really was, Lee replied. We knew that if we were going to survive first contact with them, we couldn't just defend ourselves. We had to be ready to fight for everyone they'd oppressed. Ko was staring at the alien technology around them. This is incredible. With their knowledge and our industrial capacity, we've been building the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Lee finished. Ships that can fight the council on equal terms. Dr. Han was taking notes again. Admiral, what's our objective? Are we trying to defeat the council entirely? Lee appeared on the main view screen, his face serious but determined. Dr. Han, our objective is to end the council's reign of terror. We're going to free every species they've oppressed, protect every world they've threatened, and make sure they can never again use peace as an excuse for genocide. Yoon looked around at her team. Ko was excited about the technology he was seeing. Choi was studying the military preparations. Dr. Han was documenting everything for history. Admiral, Yoon said, what do you need us to do next? Lee smiled grimly. Captain, you and your team have already done the hardest part. You confirmed what the council really is. Now we can stop pretending this is about peace talks. On the view screen behind Lee, reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human and refugee ships were engaging council forces everywhere. The war that had been building for 3 years was finally beginning. This is about survival, Lee continued, not just for humanity, but for every free species in the galaxy. The council has had 1,000 years to perfect their system of control. Now it's time to tear it down. Outside the asteroid base, more ships were arriving. The hidden fleet that humanity and its allies had built was assembling for the greatest battle in galactic history. Ambassador Wan Hejin's crystal face showed no emotion, but her body began to glow brighter. Around the chamber, the other council members moved into defensive positions. The tree-like being's golden bark darkened. The gaseous entity's containment suit began to pulse with red light. What do you mean, unprepared? Wan asked. Captain Yoon Ji-woo remained calm. I mean, we knew this was a possibility. Humans have a saying, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. Engineer Ko Tae-young looked up from his instruments. Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. They're about to demonstrate their peaceful methods. Lieutenant Choi In-young had found the maintenance panel and was working on it with small tools. Give me 30 seconds and I can get us out of this room. Dr. Han Subin was still recording everything. The pattern is clear. You've done this before many times. How many species have you eliminated? Wan ignored the question. Your preparations will not save you. No species has ever been able to resist the full power of the council. Maybe that's because they came here trusting you, Yoon replied. We didn't. The holographic display showed council ships moving closer to the human vessel. On the far edge of the display, more ships appeared near Earth's solar system. One gestured to the images. Observe, Captain Yoon, your world is already surrounded. Even if you somehow escape this station, your people cannot escape their fate. Ko's instruments began beeping frantically. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy weapons charging on the station. They're targeting our ship. And several other targets, Wan added with satisfaction. Earth's moon, your orbital installations, your major population centers. We have been studying your species for decades. We know exactly where to strike. Choi finished with the maintenance panel. Got it, emergency exit is ready. Wan noticed their preparations. It does not matter where you run on this station. We control everything here. Do you? Yoon asked. Before Wan could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. The lights flickered and the holographic display wavered. Ko smiled grimly. Actually, I don't think you control as much as you thought. What did you do? Wan demanded. I've been studying your system since we arrived, Ko explained. Your technology is impressive, but it has a weakness. Everything is connected to the central power grid. And you let me interface with that grid. The chamber's lighting changed from soft white to harsh red. Emergency announcements began broadcasting in multiple alien languages. Choi opened the maintenance panel completely. Emergency exit is ready, Captain. Wan's crystal body began to pulse with angry light. It does not matter what tricks you have. You cannot escape the station and you cannot save your world, can't we? Yoon activated another device on her uniform. Admiral Lee, this is Captain Yoon. Execute Operation Lighthouse. Wan looked confused. What is Operation Lighthouse? The holographic display flickered and changed. Instead of showing council ships approaching Earth, it now showed something else entirely. Earth's moon was opening like a flower, revealing massive defensive platforms that had been hidden beneath the surface. Impossible, Juan whispered. But there was more. Around Earth's solar system, objects that had appeared to be asteroids or debris were suddenly activating. They were ships. Human ships, dozens of them, all armed and ready for battle. Ko was laughing now. Did you really think we would send our only diplomatic team without backup? We've been preparing for hostile first contact scenarios for 20 years. The display showed human vessels throughout the local region of space, ships disguised as exploration craft, hidden bases on remote asteroids, weapon platforms that looked like communication satellites. How is this possible? Juan demanded. We monitored your activities. We saw no military preparations. You saw what we wanted you to see, Yoon explained. While you were watching our obvious military bases, we were building hidden ones. While you were tracking our known ships, we were deploying secret fleets. Dr. Han looked up from her tablet. Did you think humans would make the same mistakes as the other species you eliminated? We learn from history. Choi gestured toward the emergency exit. Captain, we should move. The station's defensive systems are starting to respond to Ko's interference. But Juan stepped in front of them. You will not leave this station alive. Even if your preparations delay our plans, the outcome will be the same. The Council has resources you cannot imagine. Maybe, Yoon admitted. But you're about to learn something about humans that you didn't put in your files. What? We don't fight fair. Ko activated something on his equipment and the station shuddered. Throughout Nexus Prime, critical systems began failing. Power conduits overloaded. Life support systems switched to emergency backup. Weapon charging sequences stopped mid-cycle. What did you do? One screamed. I planted logic bombs in your computer systems, Ko said calmly. They've been spreading through your network since yesterday. Your entire station is about to shut down. The holographic display showed chaos throughout Nexus Prime. Alien beings were evacuating damaged sections. Ships were undocking in emergency procedures. The perfect order of the Council was dissolving into panic. One's crystal body was now blazing with light. This changes nothing. Our fleet will still destroy your world. Will they? Yoon asked. The display shifted to show the space around Earth. The Council ships that had been approaching were now surrounded by human vessels. But these weren't the ships the Council had been tracking. These were new designs built in secret facilities and launched from hidden bases. Meet the Earth Defense Force, Yoon said. We've been building them for 5 years, ever since we first detected your signals. One stared at the display in shock. Where did they come from? The same place your withdrawn species went, Dr. Han said quietly. We found them. The display showed more ships joining the human fleet. Vessels with designs the Council had not seen in centuries. Species they had thought were eliminated were very much alive. The Zephyrians built those beautiful energy ships, Ko explained. The Mordain created those heavy cruisers. The Kelthari designed those fighters. All the species you quarantined have been hiding in the dark regions of space, waiting for someone strong enough to stand up to you. One's light began to flicker. This is impossible. We eliminated them. You eliminated their homeworlds, Yoon corrected. But some of them escaped. They've been living as refugees, scattered across the galaxy. When we found them and heard their stories, we made them an offer. What offer? One asked weakly. Join us in building a real peace, Yoon said. Not the forced silence you call peace, but actual cooperation between equals. Choi was monitoring the station's systems. Captain, we need to go. They're regaining control of some systems. One made a last desperate attempt. Even if you escape, even if you defeat our fleet here, there are other Council worlds. Other fleets. We will never stop hunting your species. Yoon paused at the emergency exit. You're right. This won't end here. But it will end. How? The same way all tyrannies end, Yoon replied. When people stop being afraid of the tyrants. The human team disappeared into the maintenance tunnel, leaving Juan alone in the chamber. Around her, the perfect order of the Council was falling apart. On the display, human and refugee ships were engaging Council forces throughout the region. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council was facing an enemy that had come prepared for war. The next morning, Captain Yoon Ji-woo sat across from the full Galactic Council with humanity's preliminary response. She had spent most of the night reviewing the terms of the Universal Peace Accords with her team. The document was long and detailed, But the basic message was simple. Give up your weapons or be considered a threat to galactic peace. We are honored by your invitation, Yoon began. Humanity wishes to join the galactic community. However, we have some concerns about the terms of the accords. Ambassador Won Heejin leaned forward, her crystal body catching the light. What concerns do you have, Captain Yoon? We would like to maintain some defensive capabilities, Yoon explained. Not for aggression, but to protect ourselves and our allies. We also want to keep our exploration fleet to help with scientific research and trade. The reaction was immediate. All 12 council members began speaking at once in their various languages. The chamber filled with sounds like singing crystals, rushing water, and wind through metal leaves. When they stopped, Won's expression had changed. Captain Yoon, I think you do not understand the situation, Won said. Your species has a history of violence that spans thousands of years. Your people have created weapons that can destroy entire planets. You have fought wars that killed millions of your own kind. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing scenes from human history. Battles, explosions, armies marching across devastated landscapes. The images were accurate, but they only showed the worst moments of human civilization. This is why the peace accords exist. Continued a being that looked like a massive insect with jeweled eyes. Species like yours must be prevented from bringing violence to the stars. Dr. Kim Min-ho, who had joined the talks via communication link from Earth, tried to respond. Respected council members, humanity has also created great art, music, and literature. We have shown compassion, sacrifice for others, and the ability to learn from our mistakes. Words, said another council member that appeared to be made of living metal. Your actions show your true nature. You came to these talks with weapons hidden on your ship. The humans looked at each other in surprise. How did they know about the ship's defensive systems? One smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. We have been watching your species for decades, Captain Yoon. We know about your military preparations. We know about your weapons research. We know you are dangerous. Engineer Ko Tae-young had been quietly working on his tablet during the discussion. Now he looked up with concern. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the station. Something big is powering up. Lieutenant Choi In-young moved her hand closer to the emergency beacon in her pocket. Captain, we might need to leave soon. But Yoon stayed calm. Ambassador Won, we came here in good faith. Yes, we have defenses, but we have not threatened anyone. We want peace. Peace on your terms, Won replied. That is not acceptable. The Council has maintained order in this galaxy for over a millennium. We will not allow one violent species to destroy what we have built. Dr. Han Subin leaned forward. What happened to the other species that refused to join the Council? The ones that withdrew from galactic affairs? The chamber fell silent. One's crystal features hardened. They made their choice. What choice exactly? Dr. Han pressed. Another council member, one that looked like a tree with golden bark, answered. They chose isolation rather than peace. They are no longer part of the galactic community. Are they still alive? Dr. Han asked bluntly. The silence stretched longer this time. Finally, Won spoke. The council does what is necessary to preserve peace. Ko looked up from his instruments. Captain, I'm reading weapon signatures now. Hidden throughout the station. This place isn't peaceful at all. Choi stood up slowly. Captain, we need to go, now. But Won raised her hand and the doors to the chamber sealed with a soft hiss. I am afraid that is not possible. The council has reached a decision. The other council members stood as well. For beings that claimed to be peaceful, they suddenly looked very threatening. You will sign the peace accords immediately, Won continued, or you will be classified as a hostile species. The choice is yours. And if we're classified as hostile? Yoon asked, though she already knew the answer. Then you will share the fate of the other species that chose violence over peace, Won said. Your solar system will be quarantined. Your species will be prevented from spreading your violence to the rest of the galaxy. Quarantined how? Dr. Kim asked over the communication link. Won smiled again. Permanently. Ko's instruments were going crazy now. Captain, there are ships approaching our position. Lots of them. They're not showing up on normal sensors, but I can detect their energy signatures. The holographic display changed, showing the space around Nexus Prime. Dozens of alien ships were decloaking, surrounding the station. They all looked peaceful, like the other ships the humans had seen. But Ko's readings showed they were heavily armed. As you can see, Juan said, the Council is prepared to enforce peace. We have been doing so for over 1,000 years. Yoon realized the truth. The Council didn't maintain peace through diplomacy. They maintained it through force. Any species that refused to give up their defenses was destroyed. The peaceful aliens had simply eliminated anyone who might threaten their control. How many species have you destroyed? Yoon asked. We prefer to think of it as preventing galactic war, Juan replied. Sometimes a few must be sacrificed to save many. Dr. Han was taking notes frantically. The pattern is clear now. You identify potentially dangerous species. You invite them to join the Council. If they refuse to disarm completely, you eliminate them before they can become a threat. It is a system that has worked well, Juan admitted. Until now, no species has been able to resist us. Ko looked up from his instruments. Captain, they're charging weapons. Both the station and the ships around us. Choi moved to the wall looking for another exit. We're trapped. Yoon activated her emergency communicator. Admiral Lee, this is Captain Yoon. The talks have failed. Repeat, the talks have failed. One laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Your Admiral Lee cannot help you now, Captain. By the time any rescue attempt reaches this location, your entire solar system will be under Council control. The holographic display changed again, showing Earth's solar system. Council ships were already moving into position around the outer planets. We have been planning this for years, one continued. Humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. But do not worry. Your species will be remembered as the last to challenge the Council's peace. Yoon looked at her team. Ko was still working on his equipment. Choi had found what looked like a maintenance panel. Dr. Han was recording everything on her tablet. You have one final chance, Juan said. Sign the peace accords now and your species will be allowed to survive as a Council protectorate. Refuse and face the consequences. Yoon stood up slowly. She thought about Earth, about all the humans who would never know what hit them if the Council carried out their threat. She thought about Admiral Lee waiting for her signal. She thought about the other species that had faced this same choice and been eliminated when they refused to surrender. Then she smiled. Ambassador Juan, Yoon said calmly, I think you've made a serious mistake. Juan's crystal features showed confusion. What mistake? Yoon activated a hidden device on her uniform. You assumed we came here unprepared. The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a massive space station. Captain Yoon Ji-woo stood on the bridge, staring at the structure that hung in space like a giant crystal flower. Nexus Prime was beautiful, but it was also huge. The station could probably hold millions of beings. My God, whispered Dr. Han Subin. It's incredible. Engineer Ko Tae-young was studying his instruments. Captain, I'm not detecting any weapons on that station. No shields, no defensive systems, nothing. Lieutenant Choi and Young frowned. That doesn't make sense. Something that big should have some kind of protection. Yoon activated the communication system. This is Captain Yoon Ji-woo of Earth, requesting permission to dock. The response came immediately, but not in any language they recognized. Somehow the words appeared directly in their minds. Welcome, humans. Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. We are eager to meet you. As their ship moved closer to the station, the humans could see other vessels docked there. The alien ships were unlike anything they had ever imagined. Some looked like living trees with metal branches. Others appeared to be made of pure energy, contained in glowing shells. One ship seemed to be grown rather than built, with organic curves and surfaces that pulsed with life. The diversity is amazing, Dr. Han said. Each species must have developed space travel in completely different ways. Ko was still studying his readings. Captain, that energy distribution system on the station is fascinating. It's incredibly efficient, but the design is strange. It almost looks like it could be reconfigured for other purposes. Choi looked at him. What kind of other purposes? Ko shrugged. I'm not sure yet. Maybe nothing. But the power flows are very interesting. The human ship docked smoothly, and the team prepared to meet their hosts. They wore their best diplomatic uniforms, but Choi had made sure they all carried small devices that could serve as weapons if needed. The docking tube connected with a soft hiss, and the humans walked into Nexus Prime. The first thing they noticed was the air. It smelled like flowers and rain, clean and fresh. The second thing they noticed were the beings waiting to greet them. Ambassador Wan Hye-jin of the Vexathari stepped forward first. She looked like a living crystal sculpture. her body made of what appeared to be diamond and light. When she spoke, her voice was like music. "Welcome to Nexus Prime, humans. We have waited long to meet you." Behind her stood representatives of other species. A tall being that looked like a tree with golden bark and leaves that shimmered like metal. A creature that seemed to be made of flowing gas, barely contained in a translucent suit. Something that might have been a giant insect, but with gem-like eyes and wings that reflected rainbow colors. "We are honored to be here," Yoon said. "I am Captain Yoon Ji-woo, and this is my team." One gestured for them to follow her. "Please come. The council is eager to begin discussions." As they walked through the station, the humans were amazed by what they saw. The corridors were works of art, with flowing designs and surfaces that seemed to change color as they passed. Plants grew from the walls, but they were unlike any earth plants. Some had leaves that generated their own light. Others had flowers that played soft musical tones. "How long has this station existed?" Dr. Han asked. "Over 2,000 years, one replied. "It was built when the council was formed." Before that, there was much conflict in the galaxy. Species fought over resources, territory, living space. Many died. "What changed?" Yoon asked. One stopped walking and turned to face them. "We learned that peace was possible. The council showed us how to live without violence. Now we have harmony." They continued walking, passing other aliens in the corridors. None of them carried weapons. In fact, the humans realized they had not seen a single security guard or soldier since arriving. Everyone they met seemed calm and happy. "Where are your security forces?" Choi asked. One looked confused. "Security forces? Why would we need those?" "For protection," Choi explained. "In case of emergencies or threats." "There are no threats here," Wan said simply. "We are all peaceful. Violence is unknown among council species." The humans exchanged glances. Dr. Han was taking notes on everything she saw. Ko was studying the technology around them. Choi was watching for anything that seemed suspicious. They entered a large chamber where the full council was gathered. 12 different species sat around a circular table that seemed to float in the air. The humans were given seats across from them. "Let us begin," Wan said. "We have much to discuss." Over the next few hours, the council explained their history. Long ago, wars had ravaged the galaxy. Species fought each other for thousands of years. Then the first council members came together and decided to end all conflict. The solution was simple, explained a being that looked like living water. "Remove the ability to wage war and war becomes impossible." "How do you remove that ability?" Dr. Han asked. "All species that join the council agree to the Universal Peace Accords," one said. "No military ships outside your home system. No weapons designed for war. No aggressive technologies." "What happens to species that don't want to join?" Yoon asked. The aliens looked at each other. Finally, one answered. "Some species choose to remain isolated. They withdraw from galactic affairs and focus on their home worlds." "How many species have made that choice?" Dr. Han pressed. "Several," one said, but she did not give a number. During a break in the talks, the human team gathered in their assigned quarters. The rooms were beautiful, with walls that showed images of distant stars and furniture that seemed to grow from the floor. "What do you think?" Yoon asked. Her team co-spoke first. "The technology here is incredible, but something bothers me. I've been studying their power systems, and they're designed in a very specific way. They could be weaponized very quickly if needed." "Weaponized how?" Choi asked. "Energy weapons, defensive shields, even ways to disable ships remotely. But it's all hidden in systems that look peaceful." Dr. Han was reviewing her notes. "I've been thinking about those species that withdrew from galactic affairs." I asked Wan for more details, and she became very evasive. "That's not normal behavior for someone who has nothing to hide." Choi nodded. "I've been watching their body language. They get nervous whenever we ask about security or defense. It's like they're afraid of something." Yoon walked to the window and looked out at the galaxy beyond. "Or afraid of us, and what do you mean?" Dr. Han asked. "Think about it," Yoon said. "They keep talking about how violent we are. They want us to give up all our weapons. They're nervous around us. What if we're not the first species they've been afraid of?" Ko understood. "You think those other species that withdrew might not have done so voluntarily?" "I think we need to be very careful," Yoon said. "Tomorrow they want our answer about joining the council, but I'm starting to think we need more information before we decide anything." That night, as the humans slept in their beautiful quarters, Ko worked quietly on his equipment. He had discovered something troubling about the station's systems, but he needed more time to be sure. Outside their window, the stars shone peacefully, but Ko was beginning to wonder if the peace in this part of the galaxy was as real as it seemed. Admiral Lee Daho stood in the command center of Earth Central Command, staring at the message that had just arrived. The holographic display showed symbols he had never seen before, but somehow the words were clear in his mind. After 30 years in the military, he thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. Commander Park So-jin rushed into the room, her face pale with excitement. She had been working with alien languages for 5 years. Ever since Earth first detected signals from space, Park had always believed this day would come. But now that it was here, she could barely believe it. "Sir, the translation is complete," Park said, her hands shaking slightly as she handed him the datapad. "It's real. The Galactic Council wants to meet with us." Lee took the pad and read the message again. The Galactic Council claimed to represent 12 different alien species from across the galaxy. They had been watching Earth for decades. Now they wanted humanity to join them. It sounded too good to be true. "What do we know about this council?" Lee asked. Park pulled up a holographic display. "Based on their message, they control most of the known galaxy. They say they've had peace for over 1,000 years. No wars, no conflicts. They want us to be part of that peace." Lee frowned. "What's the catch?" "They want us to sign something called the Universal Peace Accords. It means we can't have military ships outside our solar system. We also have to get rid of our weapons." Dr. Kim Min-ho entered the room at that moment. As Earth's top expert on alien life, he had been called in to help understand what they were dealing with. Kim had spent his whole career wondering what aliens might be like. Now he was about to find out. "I've been studying the data they sent about themselves," Kim said. "It's fascinating. Most of these alien species are plant-eaters or energy beings. Some of them changed their bodies long ago to remove violent instincts. None of them have fought wars in centuries." Lee walked to the large window that looked out over the city. Somewhere out there, alien ships were waiting for humanity's answer. The thought both excited and worried him. "They think we're violent," Lee said. "Don't they?" Kim nodded. "The message mentions our aggressive history several times. They seem to think we're dangerous." Park pulled up more data. "They're sending a representative to meet us. A crystalline being from something called the Vexthari Empire. The meeting will be on their space station." Lee turned back to face them. "What do you two think? Should we trust them?" Kim and Park looked at each other. Kim spoke first. "Sir, this could be the greatest moment in human history. We could join a peaceful galactic community. Think of what we could learn." Park nodded, but she looked worried. "The only thing that bothers me is how much they want us to give up our defenses. Why would peaceful beings care so much about our weapons?" Lee had been thinking the same thing. In his experience, people who demanded you give up your weapons usually had reasons you wouldn't like. "We need to put together a team," Lee said. "Someone to lead the talks and experts to help understand what we're really dealing with." Over the next few days, Lee selected the team that would represent humanity. Captain Yoon Ji-woo would lead the mission. She was smart, calm under pressure, and had experience dealing with difficult negotiations. She had also served in combat, which Lee thought might be important. Dr. Han Subin joined the team as their expert on alien cultures. She had studied every piece of information they had about alien societies. If anyone could understand how these beings thought, it was her. Engineer Ko Tae-young was chosen for his technical skills. If the aliens wanted to share technology, Ko would understand it. He was also good at fixing things quickly, which might be useful. The last member of the team was Lieutenant Choi In-young. Officially, she was there for security. In reality, she was one of Earth's best special operations soldiers. Lee didn't fully trust the aliens yet, and he wanted someone capable on the team. As the team prepared to leave Earth, Lee met with Captain Yoon one last time. They stood in his office looking at a map of the galaxy that showed the locations of the council species. "What are your orders, sir?" Yoon asked. Lee thought for a moment. "Try to make this work. If we can join a peaceful galactic community, that would be amazing for humanity, but, Yoon prompted, "But be careful. Something about this feels wrong. They're asking us to give up a lot and we don't really know anything about them except what they've told us." Yoon nodded. "What if they're not as peaceful as they claim?" Lee walked to his safe and pulled out a small device. He handed it to Yoon. "If things go wrong, activate this. It will send a signal to Earth. We'll know you need help." Yoon took the device and put it in her pocket. Do you think they might be hostile? I don't know, Lee admitted. But in my experience, when someone demands you give up your ability to defend yourself, it's usually because they plan to do something you won't like. The next morning, the human team boarded their ship. It was officially a diplomatic vessel, but Lee had made sure it had some hidden capabilities. As they left Earth's atmosphere, Yoon looked back at their home planet. Think we'll see it again? Asked Lieutenant Choi. I hope so, Yoon replied. But if we don't, at least we'll have tried to do the right thing. The ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's hopes toward the stars. Behind them, Earth continued its preparations. Lee had not told the team everything. While they negotiated, Earth would be getting ready for the possibility that these peaceful aliens might not be what they seemed. As the human ship disappeared into space, Lee returned to his command center. On his desk was a classified report that the diplomatic team had not seen. It contained disturbing information about several alien species that had chosen to withdraw from galactic affairs after meeting with the Council. Lee wondered if those species had really chosen to withdraw, or if something else had happened to them. Either way, he was not going to let humanity be caught unprepared. If these aliens were truly peaceful, then humanity's precautions would not be needed. But if they were not, Lee activated his secure communication system and began sending orders to military commanders around the world. Humanity would go to these peace talks with hope, but they would also be ready for war.